Welcome to the Geekdom, Episode 1, The Making of a Geek.
Just your ability to make something out of nothing.
Welcome to the Geekdom is awesome!
I would say I'm more of a nerd than a geek.
Geek is probably one of my first and foremost personality traits.
We thought we were supposed to outgrow it.
Geek culture is everywhere now. Streaming screens, billion-dollar movies, and convention halls packed with nearly 200,000 people. But before it became a global force, it was something quieter, stranger, and more personal. It belonged to the kids with comic books, dice, toys, stories, and worlds in their heads. Kids who are often told to grow out of it. This is the story of how those outsiders found each other, built a culture, and changed the world.
We were the outsiders if you liked comic books and weren't 7 years old.
Growing up and liking comic books and toys and Dungeons and Dragons, you were the outcast in the 80s. I was that geeky kid, not combing my hair, wearing a shirt that was misfitting, with a briefcase in elementary school. I had a briefcase. Nothing says beat that kid up more than a briefcase full of Dungeons and Dragon manuals and the rolling clatter of dice in your box. It wasn't cool. It was the most uncool you could be.
Before Hollywood turned IP into blockbuster films and packed convention halls, geek culture lived in the margins, under the radar.
One of my first memories is my mother reading me comics through the crib bars.
You see, I threw myself into gaming as a way to escape reality.
I remember walking home one day and one kid had been chasing me for a bit and I ran into another kid. And I didn't know if it's, again, am I going to have to fight? Am I going to have to flee? What's going to go on with this new kid? You don't know. And he saw my camouflage shoes and he's like, "You like G.I. Joe?" And I'm like, "Do I?" And we went home and we played G.I. Joe.
And what started small evolved into something monumental.
Yeah, everyone has something that they kind of vibe on that's fun. I'm definitely on my DJ days. I just played music and now, hopefully people, I could rock the party. But on the show, it was listening and dancing to music is awesome.
My family was called the Disney household. Like, everybody made fun of us.
I got told a million times, stop playing with toys. And there's not a day goes by that I don't play with toys.
It wasn't just comics anymore. It was toys, music, animation, stories that shaped childhood and stayed with us.
And then there's this vast, endless Indiana Jones end title sequence warehouse full of intellectual property that you can explore. And that is what has been built over the last 4 decades that did not exist before.
What we really wanted to do was meet other weirdos like ourselves and to meet professionals whose work really influenced us, either just because we loved it, or in cases like myself, as an artist and writer, we studied their work.
And everything began to change. In 1970, about 300 people gathered in San Diego for the Golden State Comic Book Convention. No red carpets, no studios, no headlines, just fans. But inside those rooms, something shifted. For the first time, people realized they weren't alone. A convention wasn't just a marketplace. It was proof that the thing they loved in private could become something shared.
Conventions used to be very small events. Comic-Con here, which is this massive thing, started off as a hotel show where a couple guys wanted to get together and talk about science fiction because there was no internet, no way to find out what's coming out new or what was your thoughts on the brand new John Carter of Mars book. They had to meet up to talk about it.
I actually was in the crew that created the first one in 1970. In 1969, we started putting it together. We did a one-day show at the U.S. Grant Hotel in downtown San Diego, which was the crummiest hotel in town. And then we did it. It worked out well. We got 300 kids, and a lot of moms that thought that it was a something that pedophiles set up, so they would trap them there. And the moms all sat around like this against the wall. Like, what is this? Only one woman actually came to look at comics. And then the next couple of months, then we did the 3-day one. And again, it was at the crummy hotel, but I think we had 700 people come.
I started going to shows as an early teenager, 14, 15 years old. I think I even set up my own stuff at a convention at 14. I had my mom drop me off. I took out my boxes of comics and toys. I went in and sold at the show. It was like $25 for a table. And I sold my own toys, my own comics, got money, spent that money at the show to buy new stuff, packed up my boxes of toys and comics, called my mom on a payphone for 2 dimes, had her come back out to pick me up. I just put my boxes on the street and just waited to get picked up.
Then we jumped a little bit more. We did the second one at UCSD, who made sure that we never came back again because we were all young hippies and doing hippie things. But the third one was at the El Cortez.
When I first started coming to Comic-Con, it was at the old convention center here in town, which is very small. And I would say less than 1,000 people were there. People could get sketches from the top artists for $5 or $10. You could go up to anybody. There wasn't a line. It was a much different experience. There were very few costumes. Costumes were saved for Saturdays, which was Masquerade Day.
By the 1980s and 90s, pop culture had changed. Stories like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings didn't just entertain. They connected people. Geek culture wasn't just something you consumed. It became a world you built together.
And suddenly, all these men, and it was mostly men doing comics in those days, were bent over their drawing board. Their wives and kids knew the back of their neck better than their face. And suddenly, they could take their kids and family to the best tourist town in America and deduct it as a tax thing because, well, I'm doing this for my job. And that brought in more and more people. It was like a snowball falling down a hill.
And over time, it's gone from that little convention center to here at the main convention center, where it's just gone from 1 hall to 2 halls to now the entire thing plus overflow. And it's gone from 1,000 people to 175,000.
And when Geekdom went mainstream, it didn't just change culture, it changed the economy. It was the perfect storm. Comic books became movies. Hollywood brought star power. And like a light switching on, a world that once felt small and hidden became a phenomenon everyone wanted to be a part of.
Well, when the people started coming on their own volition from New York, the more the artists came and the bigger artists came, the more kids, older kids were coming. And then we had the underground cartoonists, and that was much for late teens, early 20s types. That was material that you couldn't show to a kid because it was all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Without Comic-Con, San Diego would probably economically fail.
What started as a small gathering is now a global industry. In a single weekend, the San Diego Comic-Con, the mecca of comic conventions, generates over $160 million for the local economy. What was once dismissed as niche now fills hotels, restaurants, streets, studios, and screens. Geek culture didn't just become accepted, it became powerful.
Yeah, and what has changed in the intervening 30 years is that comic book culture has come to dominate global culture, as we know. And popular culture, pop culture in all its infinite forms, actually now leads the conversation in terms of what people enjoy, what they do, what they consume. And so, as you can see here in this wonderful temple of pop culture that we're in, it's not trestle tables full of comics, it's big comics publishers, it's movie studios, it's movies, it's every expression of these dreams that we all love writ large. And the scope and scale of it and the amount of money it turns over has just increased exponentially.
I've always been on both sides, so I never looked at it like that. But I did know also the other side that I was on did look at it like that. And a lot of them are nerds in their heart, and they were afraid to express it on judgment. So it was not so much that they're different people. It was the I guess the social stigmas of it scared people away from it because they want to be cool. And now it's become cool. And now they're bandwagon hoppers, right? Now they want to show up later, which is still beautiful because ultimately they'll show their kids earlier on and they won't give them the same stigmas that they were given and receive the same that my dad had.
When people ask me about Comic-Con and what it's all about, it's really bigger than just comics. You have cosplay, you have anime, you have trading card games like Pokemon, you have people who are here from Renaissance fairs, and you have artists of all types, artists who work with pencil and artists who work with cloth, and it's really a pop culture convention these days. They call it Comic-Con International, but it's really about pop culture. And the moment in time we are at right now where we consume our pop culture experience in so many different ways. We can read the comic, we can read the book, we can watch the cartoon, we can watch the movie, we can listen to the music. It's really a way for fans to coalesce all that into one place.
And it didn't stop in San Diego. Across the country, smaller conventions began springing up. Not always as massive, not always as famous, but just as meaningful to the people walking through the doors. Because whether it happens in a packed convention center or a local hotel ballroom, the heart of geek culture is the same. Finding a place where your weird is welcome.
Now it's kind of hip to like all this stuff. I wish I was a teenager now instead of then. Not
a different world.
Yeah, because I would have been popular instead of an outsider.
I still feel an outcast, absolutely. I'm just, the king of the outcasts,
Really, you're kind of seeing the kid within come out from the adults. When you get such a range in ages, you have kids that are at 10 or 11 now, and so they're into the stuff that's on Nickelodeon. And then you have adults who may be in their 40s or 50s or 60s, and they're into things that are much older. And you've got all these ranges. Comic-Con gives all of them a place to be, that none of them are weird, none of them are strange, they're all accepted, and they all know that the person next to them is also a fan. It is a magical experience.
I keep waiting for it to kind of wear out its welcome.
You're just in a world that is everything that you want it to be at Comic-Con. It's the mecca of geeks. And everywhere you look, there's something cool. And so you feel at home because you're surrounded by everybody else that loves the stuff that you love. And that's what makes it so magical.
To be a geek is to love something deeply. Sometimes before the world understands it. Sometimes before you understand yourself. It is imagination, obsession, memory, and community all tangled together. From a room of 300 outsiders to a global culture worth hundreds of millions of dollars, Geekdom didn't just grow. It found its people. Welcome to the Geekdom. Come as you are.
Live on and prosper.